Welcome to the Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine weekly newscast.
Hi everybody, I'm Dave Sadler with your weekly Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine newscast. So we've got 4 good stories today, all of which are archaeological and none of which are metal detecting for the first time in our stories. Looked at the news and felt that the 4 that I've chosen this week are the most important and most interesting of all the information out there this week. So we're going to start off talking about Fosse Way and stories from the road at the edge of the world. The A46 in the UK is a roaring dual carriageway used by thousands of drivers every day in the East Midlands. This was once the edge of the Roman world, separating civilization from the barbarian. Glimpses of the lost world have been uncovered along its length. The Romans invaded Britain even, in 43 AD, must have been aliens, with some 40,000 troops and 900 ships overrunning southeast Britain. Soon after, the timing and reasons are unclear, the legions paused, creating an ad hoc frontier along the road running between the major army bases in Lincoln and Exeter. The road survives to this day as Fosse Way. Now much of it is still used as both trunk road and farm track. Anyway, over the last few weeks, one of the forts that grew near the town, Archmdmag, near modern-day Nottingham, is the Fosse. It's become the A46, and archaeologists working on widening the project recently uncovered chilling mystery, a group of 20 burials, each containing remains of newborn or young infants. So what could explain the grim discovery? At this time, infants had little or no legal status and could be abandoned by families without punishment, no problem. We don't want kids, there they go. This child's got something wrong with them, there they go, just get rid. Similar burials have been found. Theories have centred around abortion and infanticide. Both were known in the Roman world. One clue is they were found near a smithy and brewery, an industrial estate, instead of being outside the settlement as decreed by Roman law. They were buried with care, possibly near a stone marker or shrine. The location might seem inappropriate to modern eyes, but both brewing and smithing are transformative processes and likely held a degree of symbolism in Roman eyes. This is reinforced by the burial of the remains of a raven, a mystical bird described supernatural powers by the Celts and the Romans, within the floor of the smithy. Might it be these burying children hoped the transformative qualities of the smithy and the brewery would renew the spirits of the dead infants? Tantalising thought. So keep your eye on Fosse Way and the archaeology which is currently taking place in the East Midlands. Keeping it Roman, decapitated bodies found in Roman cemetery in Great Wellnetham. Archaeologists excavating a Roman burial ground said the discovery of a series of decapitated bodies was a very rare find. This took place in Great Wellnetham in Suffolk, ahead of a planned housing display. God, I'm not doing well tonight, am I? Development even. Of the 52 skeletons found, around 40% had skulls detached from their bodies, many placed by their legs. Archaeologist Andrew Peachy said it was a fascinating insight into Roman burial practices. Now, the images, which are provided on the BBC website by Archaeological Solutions, show these burials. And what I'm looking at the moment, and again, Google it, decapitated bodies found in Roman cemetery in Great Wellnetham, shows the body itself from the neck down to the toes, incomplete, facing what to me is where the head should be from the right to the feet at the left, and the skull is faced between the feet, looking up towards the body. Quite fascinating. Other images show the graves themselves and the bodies being worked upon. Roman Suffolk itself was under control of the Iceni tribe when the Romans invaded in the 1st century. From the mid-1st century to the early 5th century, it was intensely populated between the major settlements of Colchester and Norwich. There was a metal detecting hoard it wouldn't have been a metal detecting hoard at that point, but it was a hoard of Roman silver, including a great dish, was found in Mildenhall in 1942. One of the most significant Roman sites in Suffolk is the villa complex at Castle Hill in Ipswich, comprising several buildings, perhaps arranged around a courtyard. And this particular Roman settlement at Great Wellnetum may date back to the 1st century. More images show the skeletons and the skull of men, women and children, probably from a nearby settlement. Fantastic images provided, as I said, by Archaeological Solutions, so be sure to pop over to the BBC website or just Google it, and I'm sure there'll be much more information from other news sources around. Now, another fascinating tale up in Edinburgh Museum in Scotland. They've recently put on display a stone from the Great Pyramid of Giza. Now, obviously, there's always going to be some form of international issue regarding things like this. We can look at the Elgin marbles, for instance, as a prime example. In this case, the Egyptian government have called for... Let me pop back a bit. The stone itself, I'm looking at, is one of the casing stones in the Great Pyramid of Giza. So this is one of the whiter outer stones of the pyramid that would have initially been covered, which on the Great Pyramid, as I've been to Cairo to see the pyramids, there remains a slight piece atop of the pyramid itself, which again is decaying and crumbling, and hopefully people are looking after that to maintain that for the future. So one of these casing stones from the pyramid, which is in the National Museum in Scotland, the Egyptian authorities from the Ministry of Antiquities have asked for the certification documents to show how this piece of casing stone has come into their responsibility, their ownership, and obviously Egypt would want it back. Let's be honest like that. And personally, I would myself suggest that being the case. Going back, the same with the Elgin marbles. Shaban Abdel Gawad, the head of the repatriation department of Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities, said, "If we find anything left Egypt illegally, we can work to repatriate it to Egypt." And that is right. So this is an ongoing matter that's come from just being put into the public domain at the National Museum of Scotland, and an international issue taking place. But again, that's one of the things, even though my own personal belief would be that should be given back to the Egyptian authorities, and then at their behest it could be lent out to other museums around the world. This would be something that I would like to go to Scotland to personally see. I know it's only a big lump of rock, but it's also a big lump of rock from the Great Pyramid of Giza. I'm not doing very well today. I must be a bit tired. I've been up very, very early, so I'll blame that for my forgetting of words and such like, which I apologise for. The last story tonight involves a Stonehenge-like stone circle which has been found in rural Scotland. We'll come back to that. The recumbent stone circle recorded on a rural farm near Alford in Aberdeenshire. Locals have known about the stone in the parish of Leochel Cushney for years. Experts say the find is an unusual example, as all the stones are proportionally small. The formation is unique to the northeast and thought to date back 4,500 years. So, again, we've got some fantastic images. This is from the Daily Mail in this case. I think you'd probably be able to find them on Facebook and look for Aberdeen Council, or obviously do a Google search. Fine formation of small stones. One of the images shows a historic environmental record assistant from Aberdeenshire Council logging all the stones, both GPS and with phollodolites and such like, to be able to log them precisely. The complete stone circle, as I said, in Alford in Aberdeenshire, was reported by Fiona Bain, whose family had farmed the land for years. It's thought the circle once was constructed around 3,500 to 4,005 years ago, and each stone stands around 3 feet high. Experts say that it fits the recumbent stone circle model and is a slightly unusual example, as all the stones are proportionally small, as I said earlier. So, we'll ask, what are recumbent stone circles? Now, I didn't know this until I read the article myself. Recumbent stone circles are amongst the oldest surviving structures in Scotland. They were built roughly 4,000 years ago. They get the name because one large stone in the centre is laid on its side, or is recumbent. The stone averages 24 tons in weight, and they were carefully levered and chocked up to ensure that the upper surface was as level as possible. It's thought these stones may have been used to record seasons or the passage of the moon. In several cases, recumbent stone circles were converted into burial monuments by the building of a ring cairn around the stone circle. Many circles were eventually used as burial areas for cremated bodies. Up to 99 examples of these recumbent stone circles have been recorded, with diameters ranging from 18.2 metres to 24.4 metres in Aberdeen. So, the farmers have known about it for quite some time and not told anybody about it, and now this has become obviously something of great interest in the Aberdeenshire area. Chair of the Mar Area Committee, Moira Ingleby, said the newly recorded site highlights the internationally important archaeology we have within Aberdeenshire. Adding it to the record of known archaeological sites will add to the understanding of all these fantastic monuments which are unique to the area. Its identification highlights the importance of having archaeologists based at the council who are able to work within the community and pick up this local knowledge. Now the archaeologists have surveyed the stones, it will be included in future research in the area. Now, one thing I'm very, very much and passionate about is the inclusion of archaeologists in all aspects of amateur archaeology, metal detecting, museums and everything, because at the end of the day, things that are found should be logged and given record for future generations, or to be able to offer a definitive explanation and story about the location, which, when all the information is put together, could be answered or at least surmised, rather than pieces of the information missing and not being able to offer the full story. So that's it for stories tonight. One more bit of information which I think goes back to that what I've just said about inclusion of people within the archaeological metal detecting community. This week on the All Metal Mode UK podcast on Thursday nights on Spreaker, our guest is John Webb from the National Council of Metal Detecting. Now, the National Council for Metal Detecting don't just give people the necessary insurance to go out metal detecting, but they work exceptionally hard behind the scenes with all sorts of laws and giving out information, making it public of changes in the laws and such like, and also supporting people within the UK. We're also going to be finding out quite a lot about the history of the National Council for Metal Detecting, which, let's face it, all UK metal detectorists are members of the National Council for Metal Detecting, but don't know anything about it because they think it's just insurance and they need the insurance to go out metal detecting and don't look that little bit further. I'm not saying all, but a high population of metal detectorists. So I would advise all people who are members of the National Council for Metal Detecting to listen this week to learn lots about it, and I think it will open the eyes of metal detectorists in the UK quite wholeheartedly. I'm Dave Sadler. This is the Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine weekly newscast. Hope you all have a good week. Thanks very much.
The Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine acts as a hub for information, offering articles from archaeologists, detectorists and other specialists throughout the genre, featuring many links, event info and news articles associated to archaeology and metal detecting. We also offer professional review services and promotion for books, resources, videos, documentaries, gadgets, equipment and much, much more. The magazine is run by the archaeological and metal detecting community for the archaeological and metal detecting community. So come visit us at archmdmag.com, that's archmdmag.com, and check out information from our media section with all the latest content, news from the Archaeology channel, podcasts and the YouTube channels that feature the now legendary Digger Dawn, the Man with the Hat and Archeo Duck, just to name a few. If you would like to offer an article, link or inquire about other services, then pay us a visit at archmdmag.com and drop us a line.